So, second game here from the finals. We see a very interesting game. One is followed now by a game where Luca gets to be playing first again.
Hmm.
That's the advantage. Well, in the beginning of the game of being the higher seed, now it's the advantage of losing the game.
But I think it's not that deciding in this matchup. I think there are games where it's even better to be on the draw. Overall, it's better to be on the play, even in this matchup, of course, but uh, depends on how the hands shape up.
We see here a card that's very much better on the play in form of Days.
Hmm.
And the Village Bellringer for the combo, Pia and Kiran and Jace. That looks okay, although a bit slow.
Right. And Justus' hand is pretty solid overall. He has all the mana he needs, not a double blue at the moment, but that should come. Given the time, a Bolt, a Pyromancer, and a Seeker of the Way. So I think a clear keep.
I think I would actually mulligan Lucas, and it
Why? He
looks
has
to
he has
me
a land into a Daze, then has a flash creature into maybe a Jace.
like the flash creature is pretty much not relevant as long as you don't have
The
the
combo.
combo.
Hmm.
It is quite okay because it can block the Seeker, so that's at least something. Maybe it's as good as a blocker that it's worth keeping it. But
I think. Well, I think there is risk to mulliganing. There could be just a seven hand that you cannot keep at all. Then you have to go down to six. You're on the play. You're not getting the extra card. So at least he has the mana and he has spells he can cast. They are kind of potent in the form of Jace. With the Daze, you can maybe get your opponent. I think
mm,
it's a keep though, not a very exciting hand. That I would agree.
we will see. I think nobody would blame anybody for keeping or not keeping.
Right. The
Uh,
Sulfur Elemental actually is pretty good here. An
yeah,
uncounterable flash guy that applies real pressure, unlike the Village Bellringer, is what the Doctor ordered.
and it's actually maybe a bit sneaky in the form that when the Seeker attacks and it gets blocked by the Bellringer, if you play the Sulfur Elemental, the Seeker would die
Mm-hmm. True.
because it gets -1 toughness, and the Bellringer would still live because it only got 2 damage.
Yeah. And here I think I don't like this. Usually you don't have to counter anything on 3 mana. There are
Mm,
not that many cards like Dark Fate maybe is a must counter. Uh, I would have liked to see Eustace play his Seeker of the Way on turn 2. Now
yeah,
it would be difficult for him to tap out.
I agree. And Luca goes here for the Sulfur Elemental, which is nice because you feel like your opponent is kind of wanting to play a slower game,
Uh-huh.
controlling to what you do. And that means if your opponent wants to counter stuff, you can still sneak something by. And also, it is cool that there's a thing like if your opponent kills the Sulfur Elemental now and you draw a land, he only has 2 mana for a counter spell for the Jace.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
So the days is
usually,
live.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
usually exactly the point where you can put the days on. Unfortunately, he didn't draw the land, but he made sure that he will draw the land next turn, and also find a victory line. That's good.
This dig through time can be a game breaker. We already mentioned Treasure Cruise in those attrition matchups, being an all-star. Dig through time, basically in the same league.
And Luca here thinking maybe he wants to ice something in the upkeep.
Hmm.
I like. Oh, is he playing something? Yeah, he's probably just icing something in the upkeep. I like doing that because that
That
gives
prevents
you,
planeswalkers, at
yeah.
least.
You could you have a daze, so the planeswalker doesn't really hit the battlefield unless it costs 3. But you also
Hmm.
don't want to daze because that gets you back to 2 mana,
Right.
and that means you can play your Jace, and uh, now you hit the nice spot of 4 mana. You can
And
draw a
again,
green.
there's no play from Eustace, who is too scared of an opposing walker, I guess. And of course, Luca doesn't play his walker into open blue mana and just passes the turn.
Oh, there's so many lines now. You have both
Hmm.
have days, both have counter spells and some threats. It's
And
so
there's
difficult.
right, there's Mantis Rider, which usually is a planeswalker killer par excellence. And here makes a move. Justus deploys the Pyromancer with 3 mana up, so he has a counterspell at the ready,
And can pay for days, which is very important.
which he doesn't know he has to, but
Yeah,
he can, yeah.
it fits. It fits.
True.
I know there are some people, and I know those people know who I mean, that always assume their opponent have days.
Yeah, yeah.
And uh, there,
Usually legacy players.
there's like this, yeah, of course, but what if there's days? And
Uh-huh.
uh, there's also people that say like, ah, if they have days, they have days.
I also see people playing around everything. Like
Mm,
they know every card, they know the Highlander metagame, and they make sure to play around everything that is possible. And I think that's wrong. You just sometimes have to say they don't have it. Whatever.
yeah.
I don't give a, you know.
Pyromans are also very neat, very cheap. Justus drew a remand, which adds nicely to the collection of 2 mana counterspells.
Mm-hmm.
And here we see uh, a game that still is anybody's to win because timing is really everything. Luca
Mm-hmm.
has a dig through time and a Jace. If he can manage to play either one of those without getting
Oh,
countered,
this is interesting. Here's Village Bellringer that um, provokes a hard counter in the form of counterspell.
I assume this is because the Pyromancer and his tokens should be able to attack. And he feels like his hand is full of answers.
I actually think he feels like he doesn't need the tokens at all. I think
It,
he
it
misses.
might it might be that it was a response.
Okay.
That the Bellringer was in response to
Okay.
Pyromancer.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
if it gets countered, it doesn't make a token. There's Chain Lightning, our best friend. And now we see, oh, that is cool. You play Chain Lightning, and Justus is very tempted to copy the Chain Lightning, maybe, and then would be the time to play Jace. And then your opponent thinks, ah, if he plays
Yes.
a Jace, I can just daze.
And then you daze it. Right.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Do you actually get a an elemental by copying the chain lightning?
I think what happens is that the chain lightning deals damage and then resolves, putting the copy on stack, which means that the state-based effects kill the Pyromancer.
Mm-hmm.
And because you didn't put the copy on stack, but the trigger that you get something is not giving you a token.
Okay.
But it might also be that you just copy it from the chain lightning and you get a token.
Do you
Ah,
even
okay.
get a token for copying, or do you have to play? I don't know. Okay, you for sure are getting an elemental overplayed remand.
And that gets the days. And that actually is a
He doesn't
bit
daze
awkward.
back.
Yeah, because there's also 4 mana open. Ah, but there's the
But
land drop, and that prevents Jace
okay,
from being
okay.
dazed. Yeah, the
I'm kind
daze
of confused of where this game is right now, but I will get
Luca
back on
is
track.
now resolving probably about the best card you can have uh,
Right.
in Magic. Well, and there is the easy answer from Mendes Rider, which of course Lucas doesn't know yet. But as we said before in the quarterfinals, sometimes, especially against red decks, you don't want to get the instant value of brainstorming. You just make sure that the J survives, which he exactly will by 1 point because of
Right.
the Mantis Rider plus the Elemental is 4 damage.
Especially against a deck without black. So there's no Vindicate, there's no Maelstrom Pulse or something like that. So there's only Council's Judgment, which is a clear answer, and maybe something like Unexpectedly Absent. But mostly Jeskai has to deal with Planeswalkers in the form of damage. So
Yeah.
Blasting Jace is a very viable line often.
Very, very good play. It's tempting to draw cards. Very tempting.
Right.
Oh, we see here
Our friend
Monastery
again.
Mentor got drawn, and that is a card that if Luca doesn't find an answer soon, could get out of hand, but also Luca has a lot of cards to see. The Jays can now brainstorm, maybe find something that can clear the board. I'm not sure. Is there a Wrath effect in Luca's deck?
I'm not sure either. He
Maybe
has Fiery
there's.
Confluence at the very least, which can act as a wrath on this board.
Does it damage flying creatures?
Yes, yes.
Maybe there's something over damage, like a bonfire or something that you can use not as a answer to all the board, but some of the board.
Mm. He finds nothing of that though. We have a Ponder. He brainstormed with the Jace, which I think is the correct line. You could argue of casting Dig Through Time first, then brainstorming, which would dig you deeper, but would also cost 2 mana for sure. So now he has all his mana available and can still crack a fetch or something, then see new cards with the Dig Through Time. And here's Pia and Kianala.
It would have been nice to have 7 mana because then the tokens can directly block a Mantis Rider and right now shoot the Mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Justus goes wild in maybe finding like a Preordain and then a Ponder and then a Treasure Cruise, this could be very awkward.
And there's a Daze trying to cut Luca off from counter mana.
That's a smart Daze. I like it. He figures that there's probably a counterspell waiting with the line Luca played.
Mm-hmm.
And he also wants to have one more creature for next turn, wants his draw to be a bit live.
Right. He can sense that there won't be another play coming from Luca that he will be able to daze. So he uses the opportunity where it presents itself to get the Monk token and to make it a little bit awkward for Luca. Oh, there is Dark Faden, my best friend.
Yeah,
but not the one for this moment.
I think I saw Dark Fade. No. He wasn't there. And then I think Justus is kind of in an awkward spot because if this turn blanks out, then the tokens just block. One of the tokens just blocks the Mantis Rider, and Jace is probably going to die if he attacks with everything. But that means Luca's hand is just very potent in form of Dig Through Time.
Right, and the Pia and Kiranella shooting ability can take down the Monastery Mentor.
Yeah.
So
here we see something very good. The little Jace making a token, getting a prowess for each of those.
It's a start.
Yeah, that means that the Mentor can actually attack.
I mean, if he gets something like Fire Eyes or Arc Trail or something like that,
yes,
the game.
Electrolyze. So imagine something that kills the flyers. He draws a Kitchen Finks. Not the worst.
Not the worst, as usually with Kitchen Finks. Not the worst, not the best.
So now there comes the combat math. Okay, I have to attack with 4 creatures to kill Jace, so I will attack with 4 creatures. And there is the argument of maybe killing the Mentor with 2 blocks on the Mentor. Which I don't know. It's very cheap in mana because if you want to kill the Mentor now, it costs you 3 mana, and you might want to spend that mana better in form of Dig Through Time and stuff. But it also means that you keep the Pia,
which can maybe shoot down another creature in the future. I can see both lines, but I like your line a little bit better actually.
It's so hard because also when you play, you have so many different things in mind. Like small nuances can make the difference. Like you think your opponent has like a specific card at hand or a card that does a specific thing, or you think of a card you want to draw and it's better to have this in play. It's very very hard to be specifically saying one thing is better than the other because usually there's a lot of thought process involved. And I know that Luca is thinking like more he likes to think more of situations than less. So that's a good trait to have.
True.
We see the dig
There's
through
the
time.
time.
Ooh,
Stagger
not
Shock.
super full, but
Stagger Shock is very appealing, I think.
I guess you take none of the lands because you don't really need them.
Mm-mm.
That leaves you with one card you don't choose, and I guess that's Pyromancer, right?
I guess so. In a vacuum, you take True Name and Stagger Shock. True Name is a brick wall to the kitchen things, and the Stagger Shock can clean out those monk tokens.
And the monk, like
Uh,
the master monk
the
itself.
Master Monk at the forefront, of course. Yeah.
I think I like the choices here. There is some appealing in saying like, okay, I can make a token right away with the Pyromancer, maybe get another token stuff, but True Analysis is just so solid. It also gets rid of the Jace if you want at any point.
Right. It's also one of the very few trump cards, if you so will, in this matchup. There's not very much that can handle this card because both decks are rather light on Wrath effects, and so they have like the Council's Judgment, and that's basically it.
Sounds awkward that trump card is actually something good.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect it to be a big clunky creature.
No, True Name Nemesis is just too efficient, too good. Like, just has it all.
So you see, Luca's still being attacked by those annoying creatures, and yeah, right now it's really just about stopping the onslaught, because he knows that when there's an end to all those attacks, he will end up being ahead.
Right.
And Justus also knows with the creature in his hand, he needs to put the pressure on. He needs to ask Luca, do you have answer for all my stuff?
He just
Because
wants to clutter the ball and hope it's enough, and maybe draw a haymaker during like the next 3 turns or so to kind of cement his position or pull a little bit further ahead.
okay, Luca correctly reading that there's no spell in Justus' hand that can be used here.
That is not a read that everybody would make.
It's he casted Dig Through Time before, but what did he do with the 3 mana? I didn't see that because he didn't kill the mentor with the Stagger Shock.
Right.
But of course, the mentor now being gone, it all worked out perfectly. Fetchland going to the bottom, how convenient. Now there's the True Nemesis, which can at least hold off the annoying kitchen things. And yeah, Stagger Shocks and the token or the Pestamind will deal with the Metis Rider. So right now we have a game where it is.
He has everything solved, everything covered.
He also has a
Justus needs to
Colonnade,
draw.
which
Right.
is a big tiebreaker here because it just flies over everything, uses the mana that everybody has just laying around. Justus here again saying, well, I just attack, I don't need to think. And I guess that will be one of the last attacks.
Yeah.
Because now the Mantis Rider is getting killed. The Kitchen Fiend dies for the first time, and the monks will be dying soon to the Stagger Shock. Oh, this is nice. It feels so good if you fight for board presence and then you hit finally the point where you don't have to be afraid anymore.
Yeah. Like when the balance of power like slowly goes in your favor.
Yeah.
Everything goes like you planned it out.
Balance of Power was one of my favorite cards earlier. Do you know what it does?
No, I don't.
It costs 3 blue and lets you draw as many cards as your opponent has more than you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and especially if you play like a faster deck, then you can just
You
draw
empty your
that.
hands, then draw up again. Okay.
Yeah. There's so many cards for Highlander that you can play. Like I know one of the my cards that I used early a lot because there were cards like Dust Bowl, which of course now aren't playing anymore, was Tifris Response.
Oh yeah, that's a cool one.
And it has some weird action. It says like you counter a spell ability that targets a land you control. And that's only the time you can use it. So you have to have something that targets a land. And you draw two cards, and the source of this, if it's a permanent, gets destroyed. So
Which means you basically can never use it, but when you can use it, it's
yeah,
amazingly powerful.
like for example, an Ajani wants to tap down your land. Ajani destroyed. I draw two cards. Wasteland gets countered. There are a lot of other cards. Maybe like a Pestermind that taps your land. Nope, destroyed. And it's a very cool card, but of course, usually not good enough to play. But
Just
that's what you play. Yeah.
Oh, there's Geist of Saintcraft, but the True Name Nemesis still being king of the board.
Despite me threatening that it was over, Justus is not being done attacking.
I think Justus correctly identifies that he just has to go the all-in mode. He has the Brimars, which wants to be blocked. He wants to push as much damage as he can, then put down the Geist and the Seeker, and maybe draw into something like a burn spell to finish Luca off.
Yeah, that's actually pretty nice. When you are in such a position and you realize this game is not going where I can win a lot of the times, you have to find a play that wins you some of the times. And I think that's exactly what is going to happen, because next attack is also 6 creatures attacking.
Right.
And if you can slip through maybe like 2, 3, 4 damage, any card you draw could be something that kills Yuka.
Right. And he kind of, this line was basically painted for him by the cards that he drew. He drew just all beefy creatures. Okay, so then I will go with it, play the aggro deck, and just keep them turning sideways. And hope just is enough somehow.
But there's also very there's a lot of situations where people say like, oh, it looks so close, I don't really like to think it out, attacking, and making the effort of realizing and counting and figuring out that your best chance is to have this narrow chance.
Right. I'm not saying he chose a brain dead line or something.
No,
I think
yeah,
all
yeah.
of his attacks were very well planned out.
Right, and there's like, even if it looks like the way, you still have to get the effort and realize correctly that you can do it. It's so
exactly, yeah.
It's so crucial, because there's a difference between losing and like being able to win. Even if you lose a lot of the times, being able to win some of the times, it's where it makes a difference between other players.
Right, it's like in a game of football where your team is basically, you are like 0-2 behind, and you could say, okay, let's not get this let this thing go nasty for us, go ugly for us. Just play it safe, maybe lose 0-3, or you can go all in, have a little bit of a chance to win the game, but maybe you lose like 5-1 because of it.
Yeah,
but at least you had the chance to win, while the other strategy you couldn't win at all.
Yeah, usually there's no punishment for winning, for losing more.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, my opponent got me down for -40. Now he instantly wins the tournament.
Yeah.
And it is very interesting, because now the Mirren Crusader at least gets one more blocker. You see Luca here, very known form of counting.
This is intricate combat math right here. But Luca has a trump in the form of Swords to Plowshares.
Which can... Justus didn't
Which lets him attack, actually, right.
Justus didn't attack the attack step before. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because he didn't draw anything that's good, and he thinks that if I draw something relevant, I can still postpone my attacking for later. And Mirren Crusader attacks for 4, which is also not something you have to necessarily see that this attack works out. But Luca figured out, okay, I can attack. There's not much happening probably in the backswings. Yeah. Very good, very good. Now he draws a Chain of Vapor, which is also a neat trick you can use.
And now he can employ the safe line, basically. He can just keep on nagging with his colonnade that Justus cannot block and just sit on his swords and chain, which should protect him from anything too scary.
Yeah, and even if you activate a colonnade, right now there's not the mana, but in total you can say get 4 life, you can get 3 life from the True Nemesis, or of course kill something from your opponent. Justus draws Mystical Tutor. Is there something awesome that he can get? Is there a bonfire?
I don't know, actually. Maybe an entreat?
Oh, that would be so good. Entreat would be for 5 angels.
But he's very close to dying also, because like another hit from the colonnade gets him to 3, and Trinity Nemesis can just stick through the last 3 points then.
Yeah, that's exactly why Justus decided he has to attack here.
Mm.
The
He needs
Seeker
a
of the
life
Way.
from the Seeker, maybe.
Yeah. Seeker of the Way gets life. The angel actually has to be blocked by something that will die, which is probably the Pestomite here. It might also be that the angel gets answered by one of the spells, but that seems unlikely. Because sorting the angel gives 4 life for basically no gain. And Chain of Vapor means that Justus can sacrifice a land to also bounce something.
Which you don't want to happen.
For example, Justus could bounce his own kitchen things, which would give 2 more life, resetting the counter. That looks interesting. Yeah, the True Name is actually making a good job of not giving life to the opponent.
Because of the protection ability. That is very important here.
Yeah, because now Justus can't be safe anymore. The colonnade plus the True Names is exactly 7 damage.
He might then choose to not mystical here. Just keep it as a surprise.
Luca is still... Ooh, but now if he plays the Chain of Vapor, it's not lethal anymore. Because the Chain of Vapor can return the kitchen things.
Oh!
Huh?
Does he realize this? Or no, he plays it.
Okay.
Let's see what happens here.
Game is going on. No, it's not.
Maybe he didn't realize he could bounce his own creature. I mean, it would have been hard anyways, I think.
That's true. Okay, so it's still anyone's game. We see us next game.